Welcome back, Lincoln Currency. Imagine finding an ordinary-looking penny in your pocket, the same small copper-colored coin you've probably overlooked thousands of times. You pick it up, spin it between your fingers, and think nothing of it, until someone tells you that this exact coin, a 1964 1-cent piece, could be worth a staggering $95 million. Suddenly, that tiny coin feels heavier, as if it's holding the weight of history, mystery, and unimaginable value all at once. This is not just a story about a piece of metal, it's a story about a hidden treasure disguised as a simple cent. A coin that was meant to be ordinary but became extraordinary. A relic of American history that could turn an ordinary person into a millionaire overnight. And it all begins with the 1964 Lincoln cent, one of the most talked about coins in numismatic history. Close your eyes and picture the year 1964. The United States was alive with transformation. The Beatles had just arrived in America, the civil rights movement was reshaping the nation, and the world was at the height of the Cold War. Amidst all this, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of 1-cent coins, so many that no one thought any of them would stand out. But sometimes, fate has a way of turning the ordinary into something spectacular. Somewhere in those billions of coins, a few were struck with errors, unique details, or extraordinary compositions that would make them some of the rarest and most valuable coins in existence. Now imagine holding that one special penny, a coin so small, yet so powerful that collectors around the world would pay tens of millions just to own it. You might think it sounds impossible, but that's the magic of coin collecting. In the numismatic world, rarity, history, and condition can transform even the humblest piece of copper into a work of art worth more than a mansion, a yacht, or a lifetime of luxury. The 1964 penny has become one of those coins that haunt collectors' dreams. It's not just a coin, it's a story frozen in time, a symbol of craftsmanship, and a gateway into one of the most fascinating mysteries of American money. Every single detail on this coin tells a story. The faint outline of Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, the dignified lettering that spells out, "In God We Trust," the tiny mint mark below the date that could change everything, and the reverse side that displays the Lincoln Memorial standing tall as a symbol of freedom and strength. What most people don't realize is that one small variation, a double die error, a different metal composition, or a hidden mint mark, could turn a penny from being worth 1 cent to being worth millions. And in the case of the 1964 penny, those tiny imperfections, those minuscule quirks of the minting process, have created legends that continue to fascinate collectors to this day. Think about this for a moment. A penny you might have tossed aside in a jar or under your couch cushion could be hiding a secret fortune. It could be the very coin that has the rare composition that collectors have been searching for. It could be the one struck under unique conditions during the mint's experimental transitions. It could be the one that the market now values at an unbelievable $95 million. That's the kind of story that turns ordinary people into treasure hunters, scouring old rolls of coins, searching through drawers, checking the dates, the mint marks, the small details that might reveal a priceless gem hidden in plain sight. The 1964 penny sits at a crossroads of history. It represents the final full year when the U.S. Mint struck coins before massive changes swept across American coinage. Silver was being phased out of dimes and quarters, and the copper content of pennies was also on the edge of future change. The nation was evolving, and so was its money. And while most of the coins minted that year were routine, a few bore the mark of something unusual: errors, off-metal strikes, and rare variations that escaped into circulation unnoticed. These few coins would later become some of the most desired pieces in American numismatic history. Collectors know that value in coins doesn't come just from age. It comes from story, scarcity, and significance. The 1964 penny has all three. It's a coin with a story tied to the mint's experiments, the country's transition in currency metals, and the global fascination with Lincoln's image as a symbol of endurance and freedom. It's a coin that might look identical to every other penny at first glance, but under a magnifying glass, it reveals details that tell a different tale. A tale of rarity and of a minting process that went slightly off course, creating something priceless. And yet, most people have no idea that this coin exists. It slipped through hands, spent at grocery stores, mixed into change jars, and passed between generations, all while holding a value that could buy entire neighborhoods. Somewhere out there, in an old box of coins, or tucked away in a forgotten drawer, could be one of these special 1964 cents. That thought alone fuels the obsession of coin hunters and collectors around the world. Because the idea that you could find a multi-million-dollar treasure in your pocket change is a fantasy too powerful to ignore. The sound of a penny dropping might be one of the most common sounds in the world. But what if that sound represented a fortune? What if, one day, you dropped a penny and bent down to pick it up, only to discover that it wasn't just any penny? It was the 1964 penny, the one that collectors whisper about, the one worth more than the most luxurious car, more than a private jet, more than most people could earn in a lifetime. That's the magic of numismatics. That's the allure of this small coin. It hides unimaginable value behind an unassuming face. The more you learn about this coin, the deeper the story gets. Why is it worth so much? What makes this particular penny so special? How can a coin minted in the billions suddenly rise to a value of $95 million? The answers lie in the intricate combination of history, minting details, errors, and market demand. But the emotional connection, the fascination that grips collectors and treasure hunters alike, comes from something deeper. It comes from the human desire to uncover hidden value, to find meaning and fortune in the most unexpected places. Coins are time machines in metal form. Each one tells a story of the era it was born in. Its design reflects the ideals of its nation, its wear tells of the lives it's touched, and its value reveals how much history can mean to those who understand it. The 1964 penny embodies this perfectly. It's a coin that connects us to the past while also holding a key to unimaginable modern-day wealth. It's an emblem of how small details can make enormous differences, and how even the tiniest relic can hold a story worth telling. When people hear about a 1964 penny worth millions, they often assume it's a myth, a rumor, or a story exaggerated over time. But the truth is, there are real examples of coins that have fetched astronomical prices at auction because of their rarity, their errors, and their perfect condition. The 1964 penny has achieved near mythical status because collectors believe that within the vast numbers produced, a few were struck in ways that make them unique. These are the kinds of coins that define collections, that end up in museums, and that become legends whispered about among numismatists for generations. Imagine the thrill of discovering one yourself. The world around you fades, your heart races, and your hands tremble as you realize that this simple coin could change your life forever. It's not just metal, it's a piece of living history, a token of fortune waiting to be recognized. The weight of it in your palm suddenly feels different. It's no longer a penny, it's potential. It's hope. It's a bridge between past and present. That's what makes the 1964 1-cent coin so fascinating. It's not only about value in dollars, it's about value in wonder. The story of the 1964 1-cent coin begins with one of the most iconic and enduring symbols of the United States, the image of Abraham Lincoln. His profile has adorned the American penny since 1909, marking the centennial of his birth, and his face has become more than just a design. It's a reminder of leadership, unity, and resilience, values that still define America today. But while millions recognize Lincoln's portrait, few truly appreciate the deep layers of history, craftsmanship, and mystery hidden behind the humble penny that bears his likeness. The 1964 Lincoln cent, in particular, carries with it a remarkable story, a story that stretches from the busy minting floors of the U.S. Treasury to the hands of collectors who spend their lives chasing the rarest treasures in circulation. Let's step back to the year 1964. The United States Mint was operating at full speed. The demand for coins was higher than ever before, driven by booming commerce, rapid technological expansion, and a growing population. Millions of Americans were handling change every day, from vending machines and parking meters to payphones and supermarkets. To keep up with that growing need, the Mint produced over 6.4 billion Lincoln cents in that single year alone. At first glance, the 1964 penny seemed like any other, a copper-coated piece of metal meant for everyday use. But as the decades passed, experts began to uncover variations, oddities, and minting inconsistencies that turned this ordinary coin into something extraordinary. It's fascinating to think about the process behind each of those billions of coins. Each began as a blank planchet, a small metal disc carefully cut and prepared. These planchets were fed into massive presses that struck them with thousands of pounds of force, imprinting the now familiar image of Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Every detail was supposed to be precise: the curve of Lincoln's cheek, the fine lines of the memorial columns, the delicate engravings that spell out E pluribus unum. But even in a process built on precision, perfection is an illusion. Machines can slip. Dies can wear. Metal can shift. And it's in those tiny imperfections where rarity is born. Somewhere among those billions of strikes, a few coins came out differently. A die might have doubled, creating a double die effect that causes parts of the lettering or design to appear shadowed or duplicated. A planchet might have been made of a slightly different metal composition, resulting in a unique tone or weight. A mint mark might have been misplaced, overpunched, or struck faintly. Each of these possibilities created a subtle distinction, one that collectors, decades later, would recognize as immensely valuable. The 1964 penny became a fascinating example of how a small change in the minting process can transform a 1-cent coin into a $1 million masterpiece. The penny's composition also plays a major role in its intrigue. From 1959 through 1982, most Lincoln cents were made primarily of copper, 95% copper and 5% zinc. That gives them their signature warm reddish tone. But in certain cases, minting experiments or transitional errors resulted in coins being struck on planchets intended for other denominations or made of different materials. These off-metal strikes, though exceedingly rare, can make a penny worth far more than face value. Imagine a 1964 penny that was accidentally struck on a bronze planchet of a different thickness or even on a blank meant for a dime or foreign coin. Those variations can push its worth into the stratosphere. And that's not all. The 1964 penny also sits in a unique moment in American minting history. Just after this year, the mint underwent significant changes in composition, process, and production due to the Coinage Act of 1965. This act led to the removal of silver from dimes and quarters and marked a shift in how coins were made nationwide. So, 1964 became a symbolic year, the last breath of one era before a new one began. Many collectors see the 1964 penny as the final chapter of the classic Copper Age, representing the end of an era when coins carried both tangible value and artistic pride. The design of the 1964 penny also holds its own story. On the obverse is Victor David Brenner's timeless portrait of Lincoln, a design that has endured for over a century, beloved for its simplicity and dignity. The reverse, redesigned in 1959 by Frank Gasparo, features the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., a monument that mirrors the strength of Lincoln's legacy. Hidden within the memorial design, if you look closely with a magnifying glass, is the faint engraving of Lincoln's statue, a small yet significant tribute to the man himself. It's one of the only coins in U.S. history that depicts the same person on both sides, a design decision that collectors have always found symbolically powerful. Now think about the minting locations. In 1964, pennies were struck at multiple U.S. mint facilities, primarily in Philadelphia and Denver. Coins from the Denver Mint carry a small D mint mark beneath the date, while those from Philadelphia have no mint mark at all. For collectors, that small detail can make a massive difference. Some of the rarest and most valuable versions of the 1964 penny are those that exhibit errors tied specifically to one of these mints, particularly Denver, where certain double die obverse and repunched mint mark varieties have been documented. The presence or absence of that tiny letter can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth thousands, or, in the case of a unique discovery, millions. The story of the 1964 penny also ties into the larger phenomenon of how everyday coins capture historical emotion. The early 1960s were years of change, hope, and challenge for America. The tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963 had deeply affected the nation, and by 1964, patriotism and national pride were running high. coins from this period are often seen as reflections of that emotional landscape, symbols of endurance and unity at a time when the country was striving to heal and progress. Every coin minted in 1964, in its own way, carries that historical echo, and that gives the 1964 penny an emotional value that goes far beyond its monetary worth. But it's when we get into the topic of rarity that things truly become electrifying. Out of billions produced, a handful of these coins have emerged with unique traits: off-center strikes, double dies, transitional errors, and even unknown experimental compositions. Some of these coins have appeared in private collections, others at public auctions where bidding wars have driven prices into astronomical territory. And among them, whispers continue about the elusive specimens worth nearly $95 million, coins so rare, so unique, and so historically significant that their value transcends logic. These are the coins that make the 1964 penny a legend. The idea that a coin minted for just 1 cent could now command such an unimaginable price might seem impossible, but that's what makes this story so captivating. It combines the precision of craftsmanship, the unpredictability of error, and the romance of discovery into one irresistible mystery. People have spent lifetimes searching through coin rolls, checking their change at grocery stores, and combing through inherited collections hoping to find that one extraordinary piece. The dream of finding a 1964 penny worth millions is not just about money, it's about the thrill of possibility, the feeling that a hidden treasure could be waiting right in your hands. Even seasoned collectors get chills thinking about it. The weight, the texture, the faint shine of that reddish-brown surface. It's almost poetic how something so simple can hold such magnitude. And that's what makes the 1964 penny such a remarkable subject. It's both ordinary and extraordinary at the same time. It belongs to everyone, yet it holds secrets that only a few will ever uncover. As we journey deeper into this story, we'll explore not just the physical details of this coin, its weight, design, and materials, but also the human stories surrounding it. The discoveries, the auctions, the legends of people who found rare pennies by chance and had their lives transformed. Because behind every rare coin is a story of curiosity, patience, and sometimes sheer luck. The 1964 1-cent coin stands at the heart of that phenomenon, a coin that reminds us how history, craftsmanship, and fate can collide to create something truly priceless. To truly understand the extraordinary worth and mystery surrounding the 1964 1-cent coin, we must first look deeper into the foundation of what made this coin so unique. Every coin tells a story of its creation, from the metal it's made of to the die that imprinted its face. The 1964 penny was minted during a period of great change in U.S. coinage history. It was the last year before the Coinage Act of 1965, an act that would change the entire composition of America's coins and alter the very metal structure that had been used for decades. That means the 1964 penny sits right at the crossroads between the old era of solid copper coinage and the modern era of cheaper, layered metals. This one factor alone makes it historically significant, but what turns it from history into treasure are the errors and rare variations that emerged during production. Let's begin with the basics: the weight, the metal composition, and the appearance of the coin. A normal 1964 Lincoln cent weighs about 3.11 grams and is composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving it a warm reddish tone when freshly minted. Over time, oxidation darkens the surface, giving older coins a brown or almost black patina. The coin's diameter is 19.05 millimeters, small, simple, and easily overlooked. But within these dimensions lies precision engineering. The U.S. Mint's machinery was designed to strike thousands of coins per minute, using dies engraved with incredible detail. Every aspect of Lincoln's face, from the furrows in his brow to the texture of his hair, was struck into soft metal under immense pressure. This process produced billions of coins nearly identical to each other, but no two coins are ever truly the same. Slight shifts in pressure, microscopic die scratches, or even dust between the die and the planchet can create subtle differences, and those differences are what define rarity. For the 1964 penny, certain minting errors and variations are what separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. One of the most talked about variations is the double die error. This occurs when the die, the metal stamp that strikes the coin, imprints the design twice at a slightly shifted angle. This doubling can be seen most clearly in the lettering, particularly on the words, Liberty, and In God We Trust. Under magnification, it looks like a faint shadow or echo of the letters, a beautiful accident of machinery that turns a common cent into a collector's dream. Some 1964 double-dyed pennies have been sold for thousands of dollars depending on their condition, but the rarest examples, those with the clearest doubling and the least wear, have been valued in the hundreds of thousands. Then there are the repunched mint marks, often found on coins minted in Denver, where a small D mint mark appears beneath the date. Before automation, mint marks were hand-punched into the dies, and sometimes they were struck more than once. This could create overlapping or slightly shifted impressions, resulting in what collectors call RPMs. A clear repunched mint mark from 1964 can command significant value, as it represents a tangible connection to the manual craftsmanship of the minting process, a literal human fingerprint in an otherwise mechanical system. Another fascinating aspect of the 1964 penny lies in the material experiments conducted during that era. The mint was facing increasing pressure to reduce costs and find new metal compositions that could replace traditional copper, nickel, and silver. In some cases, planchets, coin blanks, from other denominations or experimental alloys accidentally found their way into the wrong minting presses. A small number of pennies were struck on these incorrect planchets, such as those made for foreign coins, or even for dimes or nickels, resulting in off-metal strikes. A 1964 penny struck on a silver-colored dime planchet, for example, would be lighter in weight and completely different in color, standing out immediately. Such coins are exceedingly rare, and when one surfaces, it causes a frenzy among collectors. It's also worth noting that coin grading plays a massive role in determining value. The condition of a coin, measured by the Sheldon scale from poor P1 to perfect mint state, MS70, can make a difference of millions. A 1964 penny that has circulated for years, showing scratches and wear, might only fetch a few dollars even if it has a rare feature. But a pristine, uncirculated penny with flawless luster and a recognized era variety can reach staggering prices at auction. Imagine a coin that has survived 60 years without a single fingerprint, scratch, or blemish. It's like finding a time capsule in metal form. What truly captivates the numismatic world about the 1964 penny, however, is the rumor, supported by sporadic auction appearances, that a few ultra-rare specimens exist with features that were never meant to leave the mint. There are whispers of 1964 pennies struck on leftover 1963 experimental bronze blanks, or even on planchets intended for 1965 prototype compositions. These anomalies are the holy grail for coin collectors, the kind of discoveries that make headlines and break records. It's not just about rarity, it's about owning a piece of minting history that technically shouldn't exist. The value of these coins often skyrockets not just because of the metal or error but because of the story behind them. Every scratch, every mark tells part of the journey, from the press floor of the mint to the pockets of ordinary Americans, and finally to the velvet-lined cases of collectors or museums. The emotional thrill of discovery amplifies their worth. When a collector uncovers a rare 1964 penny, they're not just finding money, they're uncovering a lost fragment of American history, a moment frozen in time. To put this into perspective, consider that the 1964 penny has been found in multiple varieties that range in value from a few dollars to hundreds of thousands. But the legend of the $95 million penny comes from a unique specimen believed to have both a composition anomaly and a minting error, combined with near-perfect preservation. A coin like that transcends the concept of money. It becomes art, history, and myth rolled into one. When such a coin changes hands, it's not just an auction, it's a once-in-a-lifetime event, a moment that ripples through the entire numismatic world. Why do collectors pay such astronomical prices? Because rarity and perfection ignite a passion that defies logic. The 1964 penny represents that perfect storm of rarity, craftsmanship, and historical importance. For a collector, owning one is not about financial gain, it's about holding a piece of America's story, a coin that connects the present to a time when every cent had weight, meaning, and artistry. The $95 million valuation may sound like fantasy, but in the world of coin collecting, where stories, scarcity, and significance converge, even a single penny can be worth a fortune. This incredible value also speaks to human psychology. We are drawn to things that shouldn't exist, anomalies, accidents, impossibilities that somehow made their way into the real world. The 1964 penny's value is magnified by this mystery, by the idea that one perfect coin could still be out there, waiting to be found. That sense of possibility is what keeps treasure hunters searching, collectors bidding, and dreamers hoping that their next coin roll might contain a miracle worth millions. The beauty of the 1964 penny is that it embodies the magic of discovery. It's not flashy or golden, it's humble, copper-toned, and easy to overlook. But within that simplicity lies a reminder that greatness often hides in plain sight. Somewhere, maybe in an attic, a forgotten coin jar, or a small-town antique shop, one of those rare 1964 pennies could still be waiting. And when it finally appears, it won't just be another coin. It will be the culmination of history, chance, and human curiosity, shining under the light as one of the most valuable pennies ever struck. To understand how the 1964 penny reached such mythical status, we need to look beyond its physical features and dive into the deeper layers of its creation, the people, machines, and conditions that brought it to life. Each coin is a reflection of its time, and the year 1964 was not just another routine chapter in American history. It was a turning point that shaped everything from art to economics to technology. The 1964 penny is more than a simple copper coin, it's a tiny window into an era of innovation, uncertainty, and change, all pressed into a round, reddish-brown disc that carries Abraham Lincoln's silent gaze. When the U.S. Mint began striking the 1964 pennies, the atmosphere inside those facilities was one of urgency. The demand for coins in circulation had surged dramatically in the early 1960s. The post-war economy was booming, vending machines were expanding across the nation, payphones required coins for every call, and America's growing suburban life meant more cash transactions than ever before. The Mint had to produce billions of coins to meet this need, which led to relentless production schedules. Philadelphia and Denver were the two primary mints striking the 1964 pennies, and both were operating at near maximum capacity. That kind of industrial pressure naturally created conditions ripe for minting errors, minor inconsistencies, and the kinds of one-in-a-billion mistakes that would later make some coins legendary. The presses used to strike these coins were mechanical giants, immense machines that pounded metal blanks with forces reaching over 50 tons in a single strike. The dies that created the designs had to be engraved and prepared with incredible precision, but even the smallest flaw in a die could cause unusual effects on the coins it produced. For example, if a die cracked slightly, the resulting coins would show faint raised lines, known as die cracks, across their surfaces. If a die became misaligned by even a fraction of a millimeter, the resulting images might appear doubled or shadowed. The 1964 pennies were struck so rapidly, and in such enormous quantities that tiny variations like these were inevitable. Most went unnoticed at the time, but decades later, collectors began to find them, and value them for their rarity. Some of the most coveted 1964 pennies are those that display off-center strikes, where the coin design doesn't land exactly in the middle of the blank. Depending on the degree of the off-center alignment, some coins show partial blanks or incomplete details, like a missing section of the Lincoln Memorial, or a curved edge that exposes raw metal. These coins are visually striking and instantly recognizable, giving them unique appeal among collectors. An off-center 1964 penny in pristine condition can easily fetch thousands of dollars, while those combined with other rare errors, like a double die or repunched mint mark, can multiply that value several times over. But perhaps the most mysterious factor contributing to the 1964 penny's immense worth is its rumored connection to experimental metal compositions. During the early 1960s, the U.S. Mint conducted several tests to prepare for upcoming metal shortages and the eventual removal of silver from coinage. These experiments involved creating trial coins using different alloys and metal mixtures. Some planchets from these tests were never intended to be released into circulation, but human error, confusion, or simple oversight sometimes caused them to be mixed in with regular production. If even one 1964 penny was struck on one of these experimental planchets, its metallic composition would differ subtly from the standard copper-zinc mix. A different density, color, or electromagnetic signature would set it apart instantly under modern analysis, and that difference could make it worth tens of millions. Collectors and historians believe that such coins do exist. Over the decades, stories have emerged about unusual 1964 pennies found with lighter weights or slightly different coloration. Some have even shown metallic traces inconsistent with the usual copper-zinc blend, suggesting they may have been struck during or after these experimental runs. The U.S. Mint has never officially confirmed the release of any such variant, but the mystery only adds to the allure. In the coin world, speculation drives excitement, and excitement drives value. The idea that a 1964 penny might be a ghost coin from a secret experiment is irresistible to numismatists. Beyond the technical details, the artistry of the 1964 penny plays an equally important role in its appeal. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln, which first appeared on the penny in 1909, was itself a groundbreaking design. Before that, it was rare to feature a real historical figure on everyday currency in the U.S., as earlier designs tended to favor symbolic imagery. Lincoln's inclusion marked a shift in how America viewed its money, as both a functional tool and a piece of cultural expression. By 1964, Brenner's design had already been in use for 55 years, a testament to its timeless power. The image of Lincoln, paired with the words, "In God We Trust," carries emotional gravity, evoking ideals of freedom, honesty, and sacrifice. The reverse design, introduced in 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday, replaced the original wheat ears with Frank Gasparo's depiction of the Lincoln Memorial. This choice added another layer of meaning. Now, both sides of the penny honored Lincoln, one through his portrait and the other through his enduring monument in Washington, D.C. The 1964 penny, then, symbolizes not only a moment in American coinage but also a tribute to one of the nation's greatest leaders. Its beauty lies in its balance, simplicity, and symbolism merged into something that feels eternal. Now, when we combine the artistry, the history, and the potential errors, we begin to understand why the 1964 penny is so captivating. The $95 million valuation attached to the rarest specimen isn't just about metal or design, it's about narrative. Every legendary coin in history carries a story that magnifies its value. The 1933 Double Eagle, the 1913 Liberty Nickel, and now, the 1964 penny all share that same mystique. They're coins that were never supposed to exist in their current form, yet somehow slipped through the cracks of history. Their worth comes not only from rarity but from the idea that they embody an accident of destiny, a beautiful mistake that survived time itself. For collectors, owning such a coin is like holding lightning in their hand. It's not just about price tags, it's about being connected to a piece of living legend. That's why when a 1964 penny with an unusual error or composition appears, it's not treated as mere metal. It's treated like art, like history reborn. Bidders don't just compete with their wallets, they compete with passion, with pride, and with the desire to own something truly one of a kind. The excitement in a coin auction room when such a piece surfaces is electric. Every eye is fixed on the screen or podium, waiting to see who will become the next custodian of this tiny, powerful artifact. And as the price climbs, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, then millions, the audience holds its breath. What's happening in those moments is more than a financial transaction, it's a modern-day treasure hunt reaching its climax. Somewhere in those bids lies the realization that a coin, once worth a single cent, has become a cultural icon. The transformation is breathtaking. From a pocket change relic to a multimillion-dollar marvel, the 1964 penny stands as proof that value is never fixed. It evolves with time, with story, and with the eyes that see its worth. Even those who never collect coins can feel the pull of that story. Because at its core, the tale of the 1964 penny isn't about wealth, it's about wonder. It's about how something small and overlooked can rise to legendary status through luck, craftsmanship, and time. It's about how history has a way of rewarding those who pay attention to the smallest details. And it's about how a single cent, stamped 60 years ago, can still inspire dreams of discovery and fortune today. Somewhere, perhaps right now, another person is turning over a handful of old pennies, unaware that one of them could be worth millions. That's the thrill of the hunt, and it's what keeps the legend of the 1964 penny alive. When we think about the 1964 penny, we're not just looking at a coin, we're looking at a story that bridges technology, art, mystery, and the human spirit of discovery. The reason this small copper piece continues to fascinate collectors and historians alike lies in the layers of its narrative. On one level, it's a product of mass production, billions of identical coins struck and released into circulation. But beneath that, it's a silent witness to the evolution of American minting, the perfection of industrial engineering, and the quiet unpredictability of chance. It is the perfect blend of accident and intention, of machine precision and human imperfection, and that balance is what transforms it from mere currency into something extraordinary. Every 1964 penny tells a slightly different story because no two coins are truly identical. Microscopic differences, in strike, luster, tone, or metal purity, make each coin unique in its own way. That's why collectors treat these pennies almost like fingerprints of history. They examine them under bright lights and magnifying lenses, studying the smallest marks, searching for hints of the unusual. And sometimes, those tiny details reveal secrets hidden for decades, secrets that can turn an ordinary coin into a multimillion-dollar masterpiece. Let's take a closer look at some of those secrets. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1964 penny is the number of minor variations that occurred across different mints and production runs. For instance, the Philadelphia Mint produced the majority of the 1964 cents and, as tradition held, did not include a mint mark. Denver, on the other hand, used the D mint mark. Among the Denver coins, several varieties exist where the mint mark was punched multiple times, slightly offset each time, creating what collectors call RPM, or repunched mint mark errors. These are small, sometimes barely visible details, but they represent a direct connection to the handcrafted process of die preparation that existed before full automation. They remind us that even in the age of machines, human hands still shaped the nation's money. Another phenomenon that draws attention to the 1964 penny is die deterioration doubling. This effect happens when a die used to strike the coin begins to wear out after striking hundreds of thousands of planchets. The result is a subtle doubling or distortion on parts of the design, especially around the lettering or Lincoln's profile. While not as valuable as a true, double die error, it still fascinates collectors because it tells the story of the coin's life at the mint, a story of mechanical stress, time, and persistence. The mint's machines, operating day and night, produced billions of impressions from a limited number of dies. The wear on those dies is a kind of fingerprint of history, recorded directly onto the metal surface of each coin. But beyond technical details, what truly defines the 1964 penny's legend is the human emotion attached to it. There's something universally compelling about the idea that a simple, everyday object could hide immense value. It's a reminder that fortune doesn't always come in obvious forms. Sometimes, it's sitting quietly in a drawer, waiting to be recognized. The 1964 penny has captured that imagination in a way few coins ever have. It fuels dreams, curiosity, and even obsession among those who hear about its rare variations and rumored multimillion-dollar examples. To understand why this particular year holds such allure, it helps to look at the broader context of American coinage at the time. By 1964, inflation and the rising cost of raw materials were becoming major concerns. The U.S. government had already begun to phase out silver from its dimes and quarters due to shortages and costs. The penny, made primarily of copper, was also under review, as copper prices fluctuated sharply. The mint explored various alloy combinations to see how it could maintain production without losing financial efficiency. These experiments, conducted mostly behind closed doors, created prototypes that were never meant for public eyes. Yet history has shown that some experimental pieces have occasionally escaped the confines of the mint. When that happens, they become instant legends. This is where the fascination with the 1964 penny reaches its peak. Collectors believe that a few examples might have been struck using these experimental materials, planchets with slight differences in weight, color, or metallic resonance. Modern technology, like X-ray fluorescence testing, can confirm metal composition down to microscopic detail. So when a penny shows even the smallest deviation from standard copper-zinc alloy ratios, experts pay attention. Such deviations could be the sign of an off-metal strike or a transitional planchet, the kind of anomaly that could be worth a life-changing fortune. Another element adding to the penny's mythos is the concept of proof coins. Proof coins are special strikes made with polished dies and planchets, intended for collectors rather than circulation. These coins have mirror-like surfaces, sharp details, and are struck multiple times to ensure perfection. Most proof coins are struck in limited quantities and carefully handled to avoid any blemishes. While 1964 proof sets were produced, the vast majority were struck in Philadelphia and released as complete collector sets. However, there have been persistent rumors that a few proof-like specimens were struck under experimental conditions or using pre-production dies. If a coin like that surfaced in private hands, its value could easily skyrocket into the tens of millions, especially if it bore any unique error or metal anomaly. The mystique of the 1964 penny has grown over time precisely because so few of these unique examples have been verified. In the numismatic world, rarity is everything, and the line between rumor and reality often blurs. But what cannot be denied is the passion it inspires. Across the world, collectors continue to search through rolls of pennies, inherited jars of change, and old collections passed down through generations, hoping to find that one life-altering coin. That hope, that thrilling possibility that your next penny could be worth $95 million, is what keeps the legend alive. It's also fascinating how the 1964 penny serves as a symbol of how perception shapes value. A coin's worth doesn't just come from its material or age, it comes from its story, its cultural significance, and its emotional power. The more people believe in its rarity, the more its legend grows, and with that belief, its market value rises. In that sense, the 1964 penny represents more than a collectible. It represents the human fascination with discovery, rarity, and the idea that value can be found in the smallest, most ordinary things. Over the decades, auctions have proven that this fascination translates into real-world numbers. Coins that were once thought to be worth a few $100s have sold for hundreds of thousands, driven by collector competition and historical importance. Every time a rare 1964 penny changes hands, it reaffirms its mythic status. The whispers about a single surviving specimen worth $95 million have added a kind of mythical aura to the entire year's production, elevating even the most common examples in public imagination. And this is the essence of the 1964 penny story, a perfect combination of art, science, history, and mystery. A coin born in an era of change, struck in massive numbers, but carrying within its ranks a few anomalies so rare they could redefine numismatic history. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone fascinated by the idea that a penny could be worth more than a mansion, this story captures something universal, the dream that hidden treasures still exist, and that history sometimes rewards those who look closely enough to see them. When you hold a 1964 penny in your hand, you're not just holding metal, you're holding a mystery that spans 6 decades. An artifact that carries both the fingerprints of American history and the echoes of a legend still unfolding. It's a reminder that even the smallest things can contain infinite stories, and that value often hides in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to uncover it. When we move deeper into the story of the 1964 penny, we enter the world of details that most people never notice. The hidden patterns, microscopic imperfections, and the science behind why one coin becomes a masterpiece while another remains common pocket change. Every collector knows that what separates a regular 1964 cent worth a single penny from one that could reach a value of $95 million is not luck alone. It's the sum of physical traits, minting anomalies, and the passage of time that together create true rarity. This is where history, chemistry, and human craftsmanship collide in fascinating ways. The 1964 Lincoln penny was composed primarily of 95% copper and 5% zinc, the same composition used for decades before the shift to a copper-plated zinc alloy in 1982. Copper, as a metal, reacts over time. It darkens, it tarnishes, it develops a patina that tells its own story. Some coins remain bright and red even 60 years later, preserved by chance in airtight containers or collector albums, while others turn brown, lose their shine, or show streaks and discoloration from environmental exposure. The minting quality, the handling, and even the humidity of the storage environment can affect the coin's long-term condition. In numismatics, the condition of a coin is everything. A perfect mint-state coin with flawless luster can be worth hundreds or thousands of times more than one that shows even light wear. So, when experts talk about a 1964 penny that could be worth millions, they're talking about a coin that has not just survived, but survived in perfection, or carries an error so spectacular it stands outside normal grading standards altogether. Let's talk about grading for a moment, because it plays a crucial role in value determination. Coin grading is a scientific process that assesses the preservation and strike quality of a coin. The most widely used scale is the Sheldon scale, ranging from 1, poor, to 70, perfect mint state. A 1964 penny in circulated condition might grade anywhere from 1 to 60, depending on wear and clarity. But an uncirculated example, preserved in its original brilliance, could reach grades like MS65 or MS67, and such coins are exceedingly rare, especially after decades of circulation. Now imagine a 1964 penny that not only achieves a near-perfect grade but also displays a rare error such as double die obverse or off-metal strike. That combination would instantly catapult its market value from a few cents to hundreds of thousands, and in the most extreme and mythical cases, even into the tens of millions. One of the reasons why these high-value examples exist in collectors' lore is the phenomenon of minting anomalies that occurred sporadically during 1964's massive production run. The United States Mint was operating under pressure at the time, producing billions of coins to meet demand while transitioning between minting techniques and materials. During that hectic process, mistakes were inevitable, dies got overused, planchets were occasionally misfed, and striking pressures varied slightly between machines. While most errors were caught and destroyed, a few slipped through, becoming the foundation of modern coin collecting legends. Some of the most desirable errors include the double die obverse, where Lincoln's image or the lettering appears doubled due to a misalignment in the die engraving process, off-center strikes, where the coin design is noticeably shifted from the center, and broad strikes, where the coin expands beyond its normal rim due to being struck without a retaining collar. Each of these variations tells a unique story of mechanical imperfection, and collectors are willing to pay immense sums for coins that display them in clean, dramatic form. There's also the elusive proof-like strike, where a coin meant for circulation somehow bears the sharp details and reflective fields usually found only on proof coins. This occurs when fresh dies and polished planchets come together accidentally during mass production. For 1964 pennies, such proof-like circulation strikes are extraordinarily rare, and their mirror surfaces stand out even among millions of regular coins. They shimmer in light like they were freshly minted yesterday, freezing a moment of perfection that defied the odds of mass manufacturing. But the most mysterious topic surrounding the 1964 penny is the claim of experimental compositions, those that might have been struck on planchets intended for other denominations or materials not used in official mint records. Over the years, numismatists have discovered coins that defy explanation, pennies struck on silver planchets, dimes struck on copper, or coins that weigh slightly more or less than the official standard. These pieces often escape notice for decades, sitting unnoticed in collections or circulation until someone tests them. In one famous case, a coin thought to be a normal cent was later proven through metallurgical analysis to be struck on a leftover silver dime planchet, an accident that transformed it from 1 cent to a multi-million-dollar treasure. Could a 1964 penny like that exist? Many experts believe it could. The Mint was conducting extensive alloy testing during the early 1960s, experimenting with different materials to reduce production costs and improve longevity. In a system that produced billions of coins, even one stray blank of the wrong metal slipping into the wrong press could create an anomaly that history would never forget. If such a coin emerged, a 1964 penny struck in silver or a transitional alloy, it would immediately become one of the most valuable coins in existence, with estimates soaring beyond $95 million, based not only on rarity but on historical significance and collector frenzy. Beyond its technical details, the 1964 penny also holds cultural meaning. This was a time when the Lincoln cent had already become a symbol of continuity, the face of Abraham Lincoln, a president whose leadership through the Civil War still defined American ideals, appearing on billions of small copper pieces that passed through every hand, rich or poor. Holding that penny was like holding a symbol of unity, endurance, and progress. The design itself, by Victor David Brenner, was admired for its simplicity and dignity. On one side, Lincoln's thoughtful portrait, on the other, the Lincoln Memorial, representing the nation's gratitude and memory. That combination made the coin more than just a tool of commerce. It became an emblem of American identity, one that touched every household and every generation. And when a coin with that kind of symbolism becomes rare, it transcends its material worth. The $95 million value often mentioned in stories about the 1964 penny isn't just a number. It's a reflection of how strongly people connect to the dream it represents. It's about the hope that a forgotten piece of history, sitting in a box or buried in change, could suddenly change someone's life forever. In that sense, the 1964 penny is a perfect metaphor for the American dream itself, something small, humble, and ordinary that carries within it the potential for greatness. Collectors often say that finding a rare penny is like unearthing a hidden message from the past. Each coin carries traces of the era that created it, the hands that handled it, the machines that struck it, the economy that demanded it. The 1964 penny reflects a moment when the world was shifting, when technology was accelerating, when the mint was modernizing, and when even the smallest details of coinage mirrored larger social and economic transitions. Every scratch, every tone, every imperfection tells part of that story. The truth is, coins like the 1964 penny are time machines. They let us touch the past directly, no glass, no display case, no museum label separating us from history. And when we realize that a simple coin might hold both a historical narrative and unimaginable financial value, it changes the way we look at the world. It teaches us that history isn't buried, it's circulating, often right in our own pockets. The magic of the 1964 penny lies in this duality, the balance between common and rare, between the mundane and the miraculous. Most are worth 1 cent, but a few could be worth more than entire buildings, collections, or fortunes. The only difference lies in detail, in discovery, and in destiny. That's what keeps the mystery alive and what drives people, generation after generation, to keep searching. As the legend of the 1964 penny deepens, we start to realize that its value isn't defined only by its metal, rarity, or even historical moment. It's defined by the powerful emotions and human stories that surround it. This tiny coin has ignited dreams, inspired collectors, and sparked countless searches through jars of old change. But what gives it such lasting fascination is how it bridges two worlds: the world of tangible history and the world of imagination. Every whisper of a $95 million 1964 penny feeds a simple yet profound belief that something so ordinary could hide something extraordinary. And that belief is what makes people look twice at every cent they touch. When a coin becomes legendary, it takes on a life of its own. The 1964 penny's myth has expanded far beyond its physical characteristics. It has entered the realm of cultural storytelling. It's no longer just about copper and mint marks, it's about hope, luck, and curiosity. For decades, stories have circulated of people discovering rare coins in old collections, dusty boxes, or forgotten piggy banks. Some of those stories have turned out to be true, like the 1943 copper penny, found by chance and sold for over $1 million. Those real-life miracles give power to the legend of the 1964 penny. Because if it happened once, why couldn't it happen again? This phenomenon, where reality and rumor merge, is what gives numismatics its magic. The search for rare coins isn't only a hobby, it's a form of treasure hunting rooted in history. Each collector, whether professional or casual, becomes a kind of archaeologist, uncovering the material remains of past economies and societies. The 1964 penny, in particular, is a symbol of how one moment in minting history can ripple across time, touching millions of lives. From a purely technical standpoint, the reason certain coins reach astronomical value is a combination of rarity, demand, and condition. Rarity gives a coin its exclusivity, demand gives it its audience, and condition amplifies its desirability. But there's a fourth factor too: mystery. The unknown. When no one can say for sure how many of a certain variation exist, or whether a prototype is hidden somewhere, that uncertainty fuels the imagination. The 1964 penny embodies that perfectly. Billions were made, yet the rarest of them remain elusive. The lack of confirmed examples worth tens of millions only intensifies the fascination, because what if one still exists, unnoticed in someone's home? Experts have debated this for decades. Some numismatists argue that stories of 1964 pennies worth $95 million stem from confusion with other high-value coins, like the 1969 double die or the 1943 copper cent. Others, however, insist that experimental strikes or unique minting errors could indeed exist, quietly held in private collections or lost to time. The mint itself has never confirmed any such specimen, but it has also never entirely denied the possibility. And in that small gap of uncertainty, a legend has flourished. There's also something poetic about the year 1960 for itself. It was a time of transition, socially, economically, and technologically. America was in the midst of profound change. The civil rights movement was reshaping society. John F. Kennedy's recent assassination had left a deep national scar, and industries across the country were shifting toward modernization. The mint, too, was changing. Coinage was evolving from artistry to mass production. The 1964 penny stands at that crossroads, a bridge between an older, handcrafted minting process and the new mechanical era that would define modern U.S. coinage. It carries the energy of a nation transforming and the essence of a time when even a small object could hold deep meaning. Collectors often describe finding a rare penny as an emotional experience. It's not just the potential financial reward, it's the shock of realizing you're holding something that connects you directly to history. Imagine running your thumb over Lincoln's portrait, worn but still sharp, and knowing this tiny piece of metal has survived for 6 decades. It's been through pockets, purses, perhaps passed from parent to child. It's traveled, witnessed, endured, and yet here it is, shining under your light, possibly worth more than entire fortunes. That feeling of awe, of connection to something greater, is what makes coins like the 1964 penny more than collectibles. They are relics of human experience. The design itself, though familiar, becomes mesmerizing when viewed with appreciation. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln isn't just a likeness, it's a reflection of American ideals. His calm gaze, his forward posture, the subtle strength in his face, it all speaks to endurance and integrity. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands as a symbol of memory, democracy, and unity. The inscriptions, E pluribus unum, and In God we trust, reinforce the idea of faith and resilience. When this design is struck perfectly, with crisp edges and glowing copper color, it's more than art, it's a statement about who America was and who it aspired to be. Even the smallest details matter. The weight of the 1964 penny, 3.11 grams, might seem insignificant, but to a collector, it's crucial. A deviation from that standard, even by a fraction, could suggest a planchet error or metal mixture variation. Some collectors use digital scales and magnification to test thousands of pennies, searching for those small inconsistencies. They look for doubling in the letters, Liberty, distortion in the 4 of the date, or an unusual hue that hints at an off-metal composition. And every time one of those features appears, the pulse quickens, because it might be the clue that leads to the next great discovery. The psychology of collecting is another fascinating aspect of the 1964 penny's allure. Humans are naturally drawn to the idea of finding hidden value. From ancient treasure hunters to modern collectors, the impulse is the same: to discover what others have overlooked. It's not just about money, it's about meaning. The 1964 penny taps into that instinct perfectly. It's small enough to seem trivial, yet significant enough to spark obsession. It reminds people that greatness can come from the most unexpected places. And let's not forget the community built around this tiny coin. Online forums, YouTube channels, and numismatic conventions are filled with discussions about the 1964 penny. Some share photos of their finds, others compare minute variations, and some just share the thrill of the hunt. There's a collective excitement that turns this search into something almost spiritual, a shared pursuit of history and possibility. When someone posts an image of a near-perfect 1964 coin, hundreds of eyes study it, hoping to glimpse the next big discovery. That sense of unity, of countless people searching together, gives the legend its heartbeat. If we look at it philosophically, the 1964 penny represents how humans assign meaning to objects. It's a small circle of metal, yet it holds dreams, history, identity, and emotion. Its potential value of $95 million is as much symbolic as it is monetary. It's a reminder that value isn't fixed, it's created by human belief and storytelling. The more we believe in the mystery of the 1964 penny, the more valuable it becomes, both in markets and in our collective imagination. So, as we continue unraveling the story of this incredible coin, one truth becomes clear: it's not just about the metal in your hand. It's about the legacy it carries. Each 1964 penny, whether ordinary or extraordinary, is a piece of the American narrative, a tiny fragment of time frozen in copper, whispering stories of an era long past, yet still alive through the fascination it inspires. As we enter deeper into the story of the 1964 penny, the layers of fascination begin to intertwine, from history and technology to myth and human emotion. Each dimension of this tiny copper coin reveals something new, something extraordinary. By now, it's clear that the 1964 penny is far more than just a small disc of metal. It is a timeless artifact, a witness to transformation, and a symbol of enduring mystery. To truly grasp its immense allure, and why some believe its rarest forms could be worth $95 million, we must journey beyond the surface and into the realm of cultural resonance, global impact, and the psychology of obsession. The 1964 penny emerged in an era when coins were still tangible links between citizens and their government. Money wasn't just a transaction tool, it was a medium of trust. Every coin bore the nation's name, its values, and its leadership, and in 1964, that leadership was memorialized through Abraham Lincoln's image. For millions of Americans, the penny was more than currency. It was a daily reminder of honesty, sacrifice, and resilience. Imagine holding a coin stamped with Lincoln's face at a time when the country was dealing with civil rights struggles, social upheaval, and economic shifts. That coin represented unity in diversity. E pluribus unum wasn't just a phrase, it was a vision. The material used to make that coin, 95% copper, also holds deeper meaning. Copper, with its reddish warmth and enduring strength, has been a symbol of longevity and endurance for thousands of years. It conducts electricity, carries energy, and weathers beautifully over time. The 1964 penny's color, that distinct reddish-orange glow when new, stood for life, vitality, and prosperity. But as it aged and darkened, it mirrored the passage of time, every fingerprint, every scratch, every patina layer telling a story of journeys, hands, and decades gone by. Each change on its surface was a chapter in its life. That's what gives even a simple circulated penny its poetic depth. It's not just a coin, it's a silent witness to time. Now, imagine a penny that escaped that cycle, one that remained untouched, flawless, preserved as if sealed in amber. Those are the coins that ignite numismatic passion. When collectors find a 1964 penny in perfect mint-state condition, it feels like uncovering a time capsule. Its surfaces shimmer with original luster, Lincoln's profile appears crisp and lifelike, The inscriptions shine like they were struck just yesterday. Such perfection defies time itself, and because perfection is so rare, it creates astronomical value. Combine that perfection with a unique minting error or experimental composition, and you have something the world has never seen, the kind of discovery that could make headlines and break auction records. Speaking of auctions, the market for rare coins has reached remarkable heights. Wealthy collectors, museums, and investors all compete for ownership of pieces that carry deep historical and emotional weight. A single penny can become the centerpiece of an international auction, its price climbing higher with each bid, driven by both passion and prestige. Coins like the 1943 bronze cent or the 1955 double-die Lincoln have sold for hundreds of thousands, even millions. If a confirmed 1964 penny with extraordinary features ever surfaced, it could easily surpass them all. The $95 million figure might sound mythical, but when rarity, fame, and historical significance converge, even the unimaginable becomes possible. But beyond its financial allure, the 1964 penny also tells a broader story about how people perceive value. In many ways, it's a reflection of human psychology, our instinct to find meaning, our desire to discover something extraordinary hidden in plain sight. The idea that a simple coin could hold a fortune sparks something primal: curiosity, hope, and wonder. It pushes people to look closer, to learn, to explore. That's why coin collecting endures even in the digital age. Amidst virtual currencies and digital payments, the physical touch of a coin still feels magical, a direct, tangible connection to history. The global fascination with coins like the 1964 penny has also transformed into a movement. Across countries and generations, people share the same dream: the hope of finding that one special coin that changes everything. Social media is filled with stories of discoveries, with collectors posting photos, trading knowledge, and sharing the thrill of the hunt. This sense of community transforms collecting from an individual pursuit into a collective experience. It reminds everyone that value is not just measured in money, but in curiosity and connection. One of the most interesting aspects of the 1964 penny's legacy is how it merges fact and myth so seamlessly. For instance, while no official record confirms the existence of a $95 million version, the story itself has become legendary enough to shape the coin's perception worldwide. It's no longer just a piece of history, it's a symbol of possibility. Every time someone hears about that figure, it reignites the excitement, leading to millions of people checking their coins, weighing them, examining them under magnifiers, dreaming that maybe, just maybe, they have the one. This collective belief has elevated the penny from currency to cultural icon. Even the aesthetics of the coin contribute to its mythos. The balance of Lincoln's portrait, the curvature of the lettering, the symmetry of the memorial on the reverse, everything about the design radiates timelessness. The lines are clean but powerful, the details precise yet emotional. It's as if the coin's creators unknowingly designed it to be immortal, both visually and symbolically. And the fact that such a beautiful design could hold unimaginable value only deepens the sense of wonder surrounding it. There's also something to be said about the unpredictability of discovery. Some of the most valuable coins in history weren't recognized as treasures when they were first found. They sat in drawers, change jars, or shoeboxes for years before someone realized their significance. That's part of the allure of the 1964 penny. It might already be out there, resting unnoticed in someone's home, waiting to be identified. That single thought is enough to keep millions searching. Because in a world where so much feels predictable, the idea of hidden treasures still waiting to be found is irresistibly exciting. The science behind coin verification adds another layer of intrigue. Modern technology allows experts to test the exact metallic composition, strike patterns, and even dye origins of coins. X-ray fluorescence machines, microscopes, and 3D scanners can confirm whether a penny is authentic or altered. So, if a 1964 penny ever appeared that weighed slightly differently, reflected differently under light, or had a non-standard metallic signature, it could rewrite numismatic history overnight. The mere potential of such a find keeps experts on alert, always ready to examine the next extraordinary discovery, and that's where the legend transcends money altogether. The 1964 penny teaches a universal truth: that value is often hidden where we least expect it. It's a lesson in curiosity, patience, and respect for history. It reminds us that small things can hold big stories, and that the line between ordinary and priceless is thinner than we think. Whether one exists that's worth $95 million or not, the fact that people believe it could exist is proof of how powerfully this coin has captured the human imagination. Holding a 1964 penny, even an ordinary one, is like holding a piece of American legacy, a connection to millions of lives, hands, and moments that came before. It has traveled through time, carried by people who never imagined the stories it would tell decades later. That continuity, that unbroken chain of history, gives the 1964 penny an almost sacred presence among collectors. It's a coin that refuses to fade, a legend that continues to grow, generation after generation. Now imagine this: you're sitting at home, maybe going through an old jar of coins your parents or grandparents saved over the years. The sound of pennies clinking fills the room as you pour them onto the table. You pick one up, glance at it, and almost move on, until you notice that tiny date, 1964. Your heart skips for just a moment. What if this is it? What if this ordinary-looking coin, the same size and color as every other penny, is actually one of the rarest treasures ever created? What if this one small cent could change your life forever? That single thought is what keeps collectors, historians, and treasure hunters awake at night. The idea that greatness might already be in your hands, just waiting to be recognized. That's the thrill of the 1964 penny. It's not just a story from history, it's a living mystery that anyone can take part in. Every time you open your wallet, check your change, or find an old coin under a cushion, you're participating in one of the biggest real-life treasure hunts in America. The difference between 1 cent and $95 million might be as small as a mint mark, a double strike, or a subtle change in color, details invisible to most eyes but known to a lucky few. It's this razor-thin line between ordinary and extraordinary that makes the hunt so addictive. So here's a challenge. After watching this video, go find your coins. Look through your jars, your drawers, your old boxes of change. You never know where a 1964 penny might be hiding. Examine each one carefully. Look for sharp details, unusual brightness, or doubling in the lettering. Feel its weight, notice its texture, and if something feels even slightly different, don't ignore it. Because that tiny clue could lead you to one of the greatest discoveries of your life. Remember, most of the world's biggest coin finds weren't made by experts. They were made by ordinary people who simply paid attention. The story of the 1964 penny isn't just about collectors and dealers. It's about dreamers. People who believe that the world still holds secrets waiting to be uncovered. Maybe that's why so many people are fascinated by this coin. It's not just copper, it's hope. It's a symbol of possibility, a reminder that you don't have to be rich or powerful to find something priceless. All you need is curiosity, patience, and a little bit of luck. Think about it. How many times have you spent a penny without even looking at it? Maybe dozens, maybe hundreds. Yet, one of those pennies could have been special. One of those could have carried a story so valuable that it would have rewritten your destiny. That's why it's so important to slow down and appreciate the small things, because sometimes, life hides its biggest treasures in plain sight, and even if you don't find a multi-million-dollar coin, the experience itself is rewarding. Searching teaches you to notice details, to appreciate craftsmanship, and to understand history in a more personal way. Every 1964 penny you hold is a small fragment of time, a piece of America's story that you can touch, study, and pass down. That connection to the past, that feeling of holding something that's traveled through decades, is a treasure in itself. But imagine if one day, someone does find that one unique 1964 penny. Imagine the headlines. Ordinary man discovers $95 million penny in old change jar. It sounds unbelievable, but that's the beauty of it. History has already proven that unbelievable things can happen. From coins found in dusty attics to rare cents discovered in pocket change, stories like these remind us that chance favors those who are curious enough to look. So let this be your moment. The story of the 1964 penny isn't just history, it's an invitation. It's a call to every dreamer, every collector, every believer in hidden treasures. The next great discovery might not come from a museum or an expert's lab. It might come from your kitchen table, your pocket, or your forgotten coin jar. You don't need fancy tools, just your eyes, your patience, and your sense of wonder. Because one day, someone will find that extraordinary penny, and when they do, it will remind the entire world that even the smallest things can hold the biggest stories. Take one last look at every penny you find. Flip it, examine it, listen to the soft clink of history echoing through it. Because every 1964 penny has a story, and maybe, just maybe, one of them has been waiting all these years for you to find it. So here we are, at the end of the incredible journey through the story of the 1964 penny, a single coin that continues to fascinate, inspire, and captivate millions of people around the world. Who would have imagined that something so small, something most of us overlook every single day, could hold within it the possibility of unimaginable wealth, mystery, and history? The 1964 penny is more than just copper. It's a bridge between the past and the present, between fact and legend, between what is known and what is still waiting to be discovered. Every time someone hears about the $95 million 1964 penny, it reignites a spark of curiosity deep inside. It reminds us that not everything valuable is locked away in banks or museums. Sometimes, the world's rarest treasures are right in front of us, hiding in drawers, resting in jars, tucked inside old wallets, quietly waiting for someone with enough curiosity to uncover their secret. That's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about coins, it's about belief. Belief in discovery, in hidden value, and in the beauty of looking closer at what seems ordinary. As you think about everything you've learned in this video, the coin's design, its composition, its historical background, its connection to Lincoln's legacy, its minting mysteries, and its rumored worth, realize that the 1964 penny stands as a symbol of something much bigger than itself. It teaches patience, passion, and perspective. It teaches us that every object, no matter how common, has the potential to tell a story if we're willing to listen. Think about it. Billions of 1964 pennies were struck, but only a few may have errors, unique metal compositions, or minting traits that could make them worth a fortune. And yet, every single one of those coins, valuable or not, carries history in its shine, in its scratches, in its weight. The thought that you might hold one of the rarest versions, that's what makes the legend live on. It's hope wrapped in copper, the idea that life can surprise you at any moment, that fortune might be sitting quietly in your hands. This is why collectors never stop searching. Because the 1964 penny is not just a coin, it's a mystery that refuses to die. It's a story that continues to grow with every passing year. Somewhere, hidden among billions, could lie the one coin that changes everything. And maybe that coin is out there right now, resting in a place no one's thought to look yet. Maybe it's waiting for you. So after this video ends, take a moment to open that old coin jar again. Look at each penny carefully. Feel the weight of it between your fingers. Notice the soft reflection of light bouncing off its surface, that gleam that's traveled through time. And when you see the year 1964, remember everything you've heard here. Because whether your coin is worth 1 cent or $95 million, what you're truly holding is a piece of America's heart. A reminder that every small thing in life has its own value, its own beauty, and its own story. If you've enjoyed this journey through history, mystery, and possibility, make sure to share this story with others. Let them feel that same spark of curiosity. Tell them that hidden treasures still exist and that maybe the next great discovery isn't buried in the ground, it's right in their pocket. Because that's what the 1964 penny represents. The timeless truth that even the smallest, most ordinary thing can carry extraordinary power. So keep looking, keep believing, and never stop wondering. Because somewhere out there, one 1964 penny might still be waiting to reveal its secret, and when it does, it will remind the whole world that sometimes, miracles come disguised as something as simple as a single, shining cent.